Hey, what's going on? You know who it is. It is Bruce Jordan and Michael Jordan of Hotels. And today we got Žana with us. What's going on, girl?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I've been so excited for this. This was really cool. Finally.
Yeah, I'm telling you, we've been trying to plan this for years. And we
Oh my
both got
God.
so we both got so busy.
I know. It's so interesting because I just had a conversation today with Lonnie, and
uh,
Lonnie is like, make sure to say hi to Bruce. And he asked me, how did you guys meet? And blah, blah, blah. And, we've known each other since a minute.
yeah, it's been a long minute.
Yeah.
But now we're finally able to make this happen. Tell everybody what you do in your background and how you got started in this business.
Yes. So, oh my God. So I'm going to go way back. I was literally born into the industry. It was almost not my choice. My dad was a chef. My mom ran a hotel. And,
Mhm.
as a child, I was either at the hotel or at the restaurant. And I was kind of like really, it wasn't really like that they told me you have to be in hospitality, but because I was literally every day with one or the other, environment involved, it kind of really was like, this is something I definitely want to do on my own. I never knew what exactly, but yeah, so I used hospitality. I mean, I'm in hospitality, gosh, I'm old, since a very long time. And I lived in so many different countries, and hospitality literally has my all-time forever lover, husband, companion in everything. And so yeah, yeah, a little bit about my background. I have a bachelor's and master's in hospitality hotel management. I speak four languages. I
Which
love
which which
people.
four languages? Which four?
Serbian, Hungarian, German, and English. I'm good in Italian too, but it's not as fluent, obviously, at all
Okay.
like it is in the other languages. But Italian is just one of my absolute favorite languages and favorite countries. So I'm kind of like obsessing, wanting to know more.
Yes. I love Italian food.
Oh my, stop. I know. It's the best.
That's how I got
Really.
like too much Italian food.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
today we're going to be talking about F&B and how to become an F&B manager or director, and
Hmm.
struggles, the trials, the tribulations, and some success techniques that you
Hmm.
can give us to help everyone improve their career and get to the next level when it comes to becoming an F&B manager or the F&B director. So, what are some of the when you first started in food and beverage? What are some of the things that you felt like were a little challenging, or some of the skills that you needed to learn immediately to become successful faster?
What a great question. I really want to say the first thing I want to definitely point out there is the fact that you really have to have the capability of putting your private life completely aside when you enter a hotel or a restaurant.
Mhm.
Because, when we are dealing with guests, we are, in a sense, their servant, right?
Mhm.
And so our personal manners really don't matter, not because we don't matter as people, but we're being hired to do a job for somebody else. And that could
Mhm.
be anything, right? It could be being a receptionist, it could be a pool person, it could be a bartender, it could be a server, it could be a manager, it could be a GM. And so that was one of the things I really learned very early on, that once I entered the establishment I would work for, or I would be hired in, that my personal things, really, I had to deal with that besides the business. Like, I really had to find my balance of, like, whatever happens in my private life cannot be brought to work, because it would have an effect on my service that I'm providing to people, which fundamentally will have an effect on my paycheck. So that's something for sure. And then I feel like really understanding that you are really having to be a multitask genius. Like, you need to really have such great memory. You have to be capable of being multitasking. You have to memorize so many things, literally in almost every position in food and beverage, even as a host or even as a server. Like, you have to remember so many little details, like how you break it down, like when you take an order as a waiter, like what comes first, what comes next, to put in your second course, put in third, change your silverware, like remember all the wines, like pairing. Oh my God. And I can go on and on. And then let's not talk about food and beverage director, because you guys have even more on your plate, because you're not only dealing with the front, but you're also now dealing with the back and the back problems that we in the front were like, oh, well, it's, in the front is all pretty.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But behind the curtain, there's a lot of issues and challenges, and really a lot of good brainstorming. And you have to be quite intelligent, in all honesty, also to be a food and beverage director, because you're dealing with big numbers, you're dealing with big responsibilities. And the bigger the hotel, the bigger, in a sense, your responsibility, because you have to be sharp every day, right? And if you are cloudy, or if something really devastating happens in life, like death or separation or whatever, that really affects people, it can be very challenging to keep your balance, right? To still be cool at work and execute and produce, but also not forget that you're human and you're going through a really hard time,
That's right. That's right. When it comes to F&B, there's like three major categories. Yeah, I think that's the best way to say it. There's three major categories in F&B. You have the operation, you have the finance, and of course you have the heart, which is the kitchen. Like, and at times those can be very challenging, like dealing with food costs. So what are like some of the things that you do to help control your food costs and help control your beverage costs?
In all honesty, it's really about detailed work. Like, you really want to maximize and minimize where you can cut cords, in a sense, and cut certain things down. And you also want to maximize of what you have. So for instance, if your budget is really small, like, pay attention just simply, in a sense, I know AC has nothing to do with food costs, but it's a cost that is playing into everything, because a food cost is a part of the whole, like you call it, heart, right? It's just one part of the heart. So to really get everything and really save yourself some dollars, in a sense, you really want to strategize of how you're doing what. And it could be in anything. You can compare vendors. You can compare, where you get your linen pressed or cleaned, like compare. And if everybody's at the same price and you really cannot make it, then maybe other things need to happen. But I feel like comparing things and not always staying with what we know, because we know the vendor or we know the people and it has been a great, collab or whatever. But fundamentally, when it comes about money, we need to make smart business decisions. And if that means sometimes we need to change specific routines or specific strategies, then we would have to do that. So I feel like really paying attention to where you are spending money, which doesn't necessarily have to be spent. And even if it's just maybe $10 that you can cut down, it still helps.
Absolutely. You're since you've was in so many different countries and so many different languages, I know the F&B in different countries is very different from the F&B over here. Like, for instance, tipping. I know tipping isn't something that's very popular in other countries, and they're like, what are you doing, like, when you try to leave them a tip? So like, what is it F&B like in the other countries versus over here in the US?
So for instance, in Germany, for instance, it's not mandatory to tip at all. Not like nice Americans here. They have good manners, and and how it's written on the receipt, 15% this much, and the receipt printer helps to calculate that. It's not like that in Germany at all. So in Germany, for instance, it's really, you tip based on the type of service and attentiveness you receive, and you make your own judgment. Right?
Okay.
So me, because I am in the industry and I know how it is, obviously I have a different point of view of that, but I am still here today in this country only really tipping if I don't receive good service or bad service. I will not tip as I'm supposed to, because at the end of the day, it's my choice as a client, as a guest. I can go anywhere. And it's your choice as a server or a manager or an owner to either train your people in a proper way to provide the service that we are happily wanting to pay for. But I don't think it has to happen. if the service was really bad, or if you had to argue with the waiter, or if you had to change your menu, change your order 3 times because the restaurant is not having the specific thing that you would like, but it's on the menu, then change your menu for that day. Like make certain adjustments on your end to provide me what it is that you're offering me, right? So that's just one example.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
not that you don't get tips at all. That's not what I'm
Yeah.
saying at all. But you definitely have to work for it. But also, of course, the hourly rate is different than
Mhm.
here. You're not, you obviously getting compensated in a different way than here, for instance, because I know here sometimes it's just minimum wage, and you do really are, depending on the tips. But over there, nobody cares.
Wow.
All they care about is really, did you serve me well? Did I had to ask for water? Did I had to ask for the menu? Did I had to tell you my allergies? Or
Mhm.
did I had to ask? Or are you actually entertaining me while I'm in your establishment? Because really, in all honesty, hospitality people, we're entertainers,
That's
literally.
right. That's right.
If we
Absolutely.
step to a table, or if we step out on the floor, regardless what position we're holding, it's showtime, right? Like, I mean, the curtain opens, your office door opens, and you go out and you see real people with real issues. The room is not done, or the check-in takes too long, or the pool boy didn't clean the pool well, or the margarita is not too cold, or whatever, right? And so you were dealing with real issues that are happening in that moment for specific people, regardless if we think it's an issue or not, but they're paying for a service that they absolutely have the right to expect to get in return.
That's right. That's right. When it comes to at the property level, I will
Mhm.
always have issues with debt stock. You know what I mean? Like, what are some of the things that you usually do to before it even becomes an issue when it comes to debt stock?
I mean, obviously, before it comes to any issues, what you want to try is to stop the problem, like stop it from bleeding, right? So if you notice it's a problem, you obviously need to, if you have the power to decide yourself, either really make an executive decision and stop it and find a
Mhm.
different way, or if it's not your choice because you're not in a position to make that type of decision, you obviously want to sit down with your team members or whoever to really bring up the problem. But I feel like a lot of times what also happens is that we're running against a wall, right?
Yeah.
Like, we might see it as a problem and we're happy to fix it and we come up with all of these solutions, but then we have people in front of us that are just making it so difficult because
Mhm.
it's either not in the rule book or it has never been done. Like, that's my favorite. It's never been done this way before. But so, okay, who cares? If this is the route that we need to take to make it actually better and to create something wonderful, why not think out of the box? Why not, right? So I feel like that's really what we should always consider, is like, really, what is really like the problem? Because sometimes we make also a problem where there isn't really a problem. Like,
Mhm.
it doesn't have to be as big. It seems to be an issue now, but if we wait, it's going to be even bigger. So let's just figure it out now. I'm a doer, me personally. I'm not a procrastinator. I'm an absolute doer. So once I do detect a problem, for me, the first thing is literally involve everybody that needs to know about this problem so that we all are on the same page, and then really find a solution that either can work for this day, the week, this month, this quarter, or long term. So
Nice. Nice.
yeah.
One of the issues that most F&B managers and most F&B directors have is costing out their menu.
Mhm.
Because the prices are fluctuating so fast with inflation and everything else that's going on. At this
Yeah.
stage of the game, like, how often do you recommend they should be costing out their menu? Do you think it should be every week, every month, every quarter?
That's tough. That's tough because you see, because the thing is, once you have somebody that really mastered the menu that you're training them on, that you're hiring them for, so when you hire them and now we have this menu and they mastered this menu and now you're changing it all the time, it can
Mhm.
create problems because, or you have multiple, because you when you want to provide a consistent service, not only in front of the house, but also back, your cooks have to cook the same meal the same way, right? I
Yeah.
cannot come
Yeah.
today and eat a dish that I like. Now I come back next week, but the cook that made it for me last week is on vacation or something, and now somebody else makes it with their own twist. So there's a lot of moving parts with that have to be considered, but I'm all about variety, right? I'm all about going with the season. My thing is, if the season changes, change your menu. For
Nice.
instance, there's specific things that we only have in season. Let's work with the season. It's not my choice. It's Mother Nature. I can't change that, but I can go with the flow with it. You know what I'm saying? Like if I have specific things, specific fruits or vegetables that are really just up and coming in specific seasons, or they're too expensive out of season, why not leave that when the season comes around? That way you give your guests variety, but you also are challenging the people that are working for you, because this is a creative craft. Like being a chef or being, in a sense, a manager is for you to be creative too. I mean, I feel like you should be allowed to be creative,
For sure, for sure, for sure.
Hmm.
For those that don't know, the hotels, especially the restaurants and bars, have something that's called S&P, sales and promo. And what sales and promo, it allows us to gain more business without taking direct hit to that department. So, what are some of the things that you use sales and promo for to generate more business for the F&B side of the business? The
You
Some
mean
people know
you?
they use it for like at the bar for free drinks and stuff like that. Some people use it for
Mhm.
free appetizers, but I know that everybody's different. I just want to know, like, what do you think worked best for you in your career?
Um, I think what's always a nice gesture in general is if you've never worked with somebody else, just to give them like a little welcome gift. Like me
Mhm.
personally, if I enter somebody's house for the very first time and I've never been in their house, it's an absolute given for me, whoever the person is, to either bring a nice flower, a nice orchid, or a nice bottle of wine, or some sweets, or whatever the person likes. And I feel that's how I treat my clients the same way too. Like if I've never worked with a client before, I'm absolutely throwing something in there just to show them that, number one, this isn't just about money, but this is about me wanting to really collaborate and really share with you what I have to offer. And I don't mind giving you an extra half day of me or whatever else it might be if it helps you out in that moment, because it's also about trust building,
Mhm.
and everybody likes a freebie. Let's be
That's
real.
right.
Everybody likes a freebie. Everybody is always excited if we go to a department store and we buy something and we get a free bag or we get a free little something. Yay, So if you can do it, I'm saying, if it's really not cutting in your own personal thing where you're like, oh man, if I give this away, then I'm struggling myself. If it's not like that and you can really give it and it won't hurt you, why not? If you can help, then help. That's how I see it. Like
Yeah.
I'm not the ticky tacky person like, oh, I stayed an extra 10 minutes or I had another phone call with you. So I'm gonna ring that up. Like I know that there's professions in this world that kind of really do work like that. And I'm not judging. I'm saying it's not personally my cup of tea because I'm a very hospitable, giving person already. And
Mhm.
if I know it can help and it doesn't cost me anything,
Why
hey,
not?
all I'm asking in return is just be honest about my service. If I treated you well and anybody asks you, just say that. That's all I'm asking, like just say really how you felt, how I treated you. And that's kind of like, you know.
Nice, nice, nice. A lot of people, they're a little conflicted when it comes to the tipping, because I know, especially on the caterer side, they have a tip pool, but on the
Mhm.
restaurant side, they get to pretty much keep all the tips, and they have to share it with maybe the busboy. Same thing with the bartender; they have to share their tips. Do you believe that people should be able to keep all the tips, or have you seen tip pools work better, or how do you think that should work?
So in general, I think everybody who really is in a position of really being able to create their own tips should be allowed to keep their own tips. Now, there are exceptions to me when we are, for instance, just taking a restaurant as an example, and all the waiters, and it's Mother's Day or Valentine's Day or big holiday parties or like really big things where we need everybody's hand and everybody's getting there at the same time, putting stuff together or staying till the end, breaking stuff down, cleaning, whatever. You know what? On those days, we're all going to get the same money because we're all doing the same thing. Like sometimes it's so crazy over Mother's Day or Valentine's Day that you are just so happy after 12 hours that you're like, oh my God, I got through the day, So I feel like in those situations, absolutely, let's share everything that we have, But in general, it is very competitive, right? And you have people that have really great memory and they're fantastic in their craft and they know everything about the menu and they're so attentive. And I really don't think that that's fair to having to share that with your teammates, especially not if they're not pulling the same weight as you and you are known to be a seller and you are known to pull a specific revenue. And, but I do believe in fairness. Like just because I'm a fantastic seller and I'm the best server on my floor does not mean that I deserve the entitlement of always getting the same section. No. If people ask for me, then yes, please allow them to come. And if they're willing to wait for me an hour because my 5 tables are busy, then allow that too. But still keep a nice, fair rotation on your floor, where everybody feels that we're still a team because fundamentally we polish glasses together, or we should. We clean silverware, we reset the tables. And tipping out your busboys and food runners, to me, was very something new because that's not given in Europe at all. We don't have food runner. We don't have busboys.
So there's no tipping of food runners or no busboys or anything like that in Europe. Wow.
No, because there's not, the positions is simply not existent.
So the server has to bust their own tables and run their own food and everything else
That's
themselves.
Right.
Wow.
That's right. And so in that case, I do believe you should tip your kitchen because without your kitchen, you have no food, number one. And if there is a maitre d' that does fair rotation and you feel you want to tip him for being fair, you can. It's not a must, in my opinion. Here, I feel like tipping the host is something very friendly, but to me, in my own personal opinion, I don't know why.
Gotcha.
I'm happy to do it, but to me, I don't see the reason. Now, tipping my busboy and my food runner, yes. Or my bar, yes, because they're executing. But the host, in a sense, I think it's a nice gesture just to create a fun, healthy environment to give her or him something too. So nobody feels left out. But I feel like the percentage amount should be very different for each outlet. I feel like your food runner and your busboys, they usually do a fantastic job if they're trained well. And and the bar too. But the bar has their own stuff too. Now they don't tip the waiter. You see, the bartender doesn't tip the waiter, but it's expected from the wait staff to tip the bar. So I guess, upper management should make a call about that, or the person that owns the establishment. But to keep it fair, I don't mind, but I think it depends on the amount that you have to tip out to. Especially, if you are a great seller and you're making good revenue for the establishment, you should get the bigger piece of cake.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. What are some of the things that you do? Because in our business, there's a lot of turnover, and everybody wants to try to keep their staff,
right,
and try to keep as much staff as possible. And the problem is getting harder to forecast the flow. Okay, right. So you don't know if you got 100 people coming in or 10. So what are some of the things that you do to try to eliminate that problem, or at least null it down a little bit so it's a little bit more controllable?
I feel like if everybody is really trained the very same way and has the same product knowledge and has the same idea about what is really happening on the floor and how it should go down in specific situations, no matter if it's guest resolution or conflict resolution or tipping or whatever, as long as we all are really trained the same way and we're helping the people that maybe do not have that much experience in hospitality, and we're bringing them up to speed, I feel like that can really help. Because really, in all honesty, if you have a full restaurant and you have 5 good waiters, they can do it. They can totally do it because they know the flow. They're going to work with each other. They're going to be synchronizing with each other. Then you throw the busboys in that obviously know what to do and how to do. And then your bar kicks butt. and it's not going to be a problem, right? But if you don't train your people in a appropriate way, because you either yourself don't know, or you are not from the hospitality industry yourself, but you just got the job because you're smart and you have charisma and you're a people person, then how do you know who to train and how to do it? Do you even ask the right questions in the interview? I don't know. So that's why I feel like it's so important to hire really outside forces in a sense, because sometimes you just don't know and you don't want to hire the wrong people and then create a bigger mess because you want to save yourself some money when you really should have just maybe brought somebody in your team that maybe stays for a little and just puts the team together and evaluates the team and maybe polishes your unpolished diamonds and then just leaves, in a sense. But I feel like in general, training is a good thing. If we all are trained in the same way and we all have the same knowledge on how to really upsell, for instance, speak about wine if we're not sommeliers, know what's really important to ask, make them feel welcome, that all of that can be trained. That's nothing special in a sense. It's just really something that people don't have time or energy, or they think, well, you said you worked as a waiter, so I assumed you knew.
Oh yeah, you don't want the waiters trying to sell you boons that wine out of a box, like.
But that's so easy done, because all I need to do is create a beautiful resume, and if you just go by my paper, and my cute smile, then what? This is why I feel like it's important to really ask specific questions about, and I talk about all of this stuff on my Instagram. It's so funny. It's really important to really ask specific questions instead of just really go by a resume. I mean, a resume is great because it shows you kind of like the history of the work experience of the person, but it doesn't really tell you if the person can execute the job.
Yeah, that is true.
But if you ask questions,
I've hired a couple of resume superstars, and then when they got there, I had to put them on the bench. So,
but
they were bench markers when I got to work. So,
and so my question to you now, Bruce, is wasn't that double work for you in a sense? Having to go through the hiring process and now doing that and now doing it all over again?
Yeah. And what's crazy is that some people, especially nowadays, some people get so desperate that they're hiring out of desperation only to work themselves into an unemployment claim later. You know what I mean? So that's but that's the nature of the business right now for some people in some markets. Other markets, there's a lot of people that want to work and they're hustlers. So it's sometimes a little difficult to distinguish the two. But I've been working on my skills as far as interviewing. I can kind of get my spidey senses starts to tingle.
Yeah, you get that with experience.
Is that gonna work?
Right. And I think, it's also okay to say no, thank you, like obviously in a respectful way, because I know it's very challenging, lately to really find good people and keep the people and all of that. It's very challenging. But this is, again, where I feel like when we already have something existent in our team, to really focus on that too. Because, when we are really polishing the diamonds that we have already in our team and really allow them to implement their own ideas and also allow their own personality to really come in, it can help a lot. It maybe not substitutes a missing person. If we're missing a person on the floor, then that's just what it is. And I'm not disagreeing with that. But I am saying, sometimes we just think, oh, we need 2 more people, when in reality, if we would have just put in some time and some effort in the existing team, we could have possibly got something out that we're thinking we're needing to replace with just another body. And sometimes that's just really what it is. We do need extra bodies. I mean, I'm not saying we don't, but we do need training too.
No, my thing is I try to make the job as easy as possible, because if I make the job hard, I got to pay hard working money.
Yeah.
So if I make the job easy, they understand, like, okay, this is an easy job. This is why I don't make $100 an hour because this job is easy,
Right.
So I invest in the tools to make the processes flow, try to
Yeah.
automate things as much as possible. So this way it flows nice and smooth and they're not, hustling, bustling, sweating. It's boom, boom, boom,
Right.
done. Next.
Right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and my dad always used to tell me, don't be afraid to share everything you know. Because fundamentally, this is how my dad ran his team in the kitchen. He really made sure that everybody, except the, I mean, including the dishwasher, would really know how things would go down. Because
Yeah,
fundamentally, he made it easier on himself.
correct.
He really made it easier on himself because he trained his staff exactly with the same knowledge that he was carrying in his mind for them to execute exactly how he would execute. So there's no problems. And most of the nights were really no problems because everybody did the same dish the same way he would cook it. So he could, if he had to, step out, or if there would be maybe a family emergency or something, the business would still run problem free.
Nice, nice. Well, listen, that's our episode for today. Hey, tell everybody how to get in touch with you.
You can get in touch with me over LinkedIn. You can follow me on my Instagram, Žana Hospitality. And yeah, obviously I have my website, but all of that is on LinkedIn, on Žana Hospitality Instagram. So you can find me.
All right, fantastic, fantastic. Listen, thank you for coming into the show and
Thank you.
giving us these Jews and dropping your knowledge. And thank you guys for watching and listening to us. This is Bruce Jordan, and thank you for joining Hotel Careers. And we'll be talking to you soon.